Good morning from a coughing, spluttering two people down in Tauranga.
Goeiemôre.
She's making the weirdest noises this morning. She must be broken.
Yeah, COVID broke me.
And we had COVID and... let me just get that camera. Sorry about that, guys. After COVID, we are struggling to get over this cough that we have.
But everyone says it takes a while, so we'll be just...
Should be patient. Is that the right word?
Just patient.
Yeah. I'm asking this morning for you, please, to help us out and give us some ideas of what misconceptions you had regarding New Zealand. We had a few that we will address, but I think there's more than just a few that we had. So my first misconception was that I thought that New Zealand was basically part of Australia.
I also thought so. Must I open the door?
I'll open the door for the guy. You can continue here.
Yes, I think that's something that a lot of people think, that it's part of Australia. It actually is. It's not that far away, not that far from the truth, actually. And a lot of things are changing at the moment, so that it makes it easier for people with citizenship in New Zealand to go to Australia and actually work there and be able to receive their citizenship in Australia as well. At the moment, you can go, if you're a resident in New Zealand, you can go to Australia and you can work there and live there. But I know that there are some implications with regards to citizenship and receiving your retirement funds and all that kinds of stuff. But I know that's changing. So in the end, you'll be able to receive your citizenship in Australia.
All right, I'm back. That was Rural Post delivering some packages for us.
Okay.
So
I was just telling them about the changes that's happening with regards to citizenship.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I'm in two minds. It makes it easier for you to leave to Australia.
It's not a bad thing.
But then New Zealand will lose out at the end of the day.
Are you tired now?
Goodness me, I had to run up and down the steps. I mean, so yeah, no. The last thing we want to see is that all the good people leave New Zealand to go to Australia. Yeah, the pay is a bit better, but I've also heard other stories that stuff ain't as good as everybody thinks it is.
I think everyone just has to make up their own mind.
Oh yeah.
What was another misconception?
I can say something from what I was taught at school. So don't shoot me. I don't know. I can't remember the teacher's name, but I'll find her name. I'll give it to you. You can shoot her. She didn't tell us about Maoris. It was called Maoris.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was one misconception. The idea I had of what a Maori would look like was more small people with boar tooth through their noses and full of tattoos running around the shrunken heads. That was what we were taught at school, because that was something that the Maori did many years back. But the misconception was still taught at school level.
You know what? I had the same idea about the Aborigines in Australia. I had the same kind of picture in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way that they portray it. But
I was probably more towards that, but
you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe because it's more rural than this is.
I think it's way more rural, and they're way more in the bush than the Maori. So
okay,
and everybody think that everybody in New Zealand is only Maoris, but Maoris has only got something like 15% of the population down here. So yeah, and they don't shrunk heads anymore, and they don't eat people anymore.
They're actually very friendly people.
I just thought you were going to say they do, but honestly, no, they don't.
I find them to be very friendly.
Yeah. So whatever you've been taught at school regarding them, it's probably been many years ago. So.
And it's not a Maori, it's Maori.
Maori, yeah. So let's see, what other misconceptions did you guys have? Come on.
One that's not really that far from the truth is that New Zealand is isolated from the rest of the world. You actually feel like it is a little bit.
Yeah, you do feel. You do. One thing that I had totally wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, totally wrong. And I know a lot of other people that's got it totally wrong, but they just grand to say they've got it wrong. Okay? They get these upstairs people.
Yes.
Yeah, they normally come from Sandton and those areas. They talk like this. They don't want to realize that they have a problem. That everybody thinks that Auckland is the only city, point one, in New Zealand. They think it's a main city, and they think that there's nothing out of Auckland. I was like that.
It's the same as people from other countries about South Africa. It's only Cape Town and Johannesburg. They think that everyone lives in Cape Town and Johannesburg. So, there are a lot of big cities in New Zealand. Auckland is one of the biggest.
But the main city, although it's not the biggest, Auckland is the biggest, with over 1 million people. But the main city, or our hoofstad, is Wellington. Yeah, of all places. Yeah. So it's strange that they made it Wellington and not Auckland. But yeah, that's one of those things. So,
lot of big cities in New Zealand.
A lot of big ones.
Yeah. I know a friend of mine, before she came, she asked her husband, because he came first, she asked him, is there even a McDonald's in New Zealand? I also thought it was only like farm. I don't know. I had this idea that it's really small and more farm-like living.
I think with the amount of sheep down here and what our main, our main thing is agriculture. So I think with that conception in our heads, everybody probably thinks that it's basically just farms down in New Zealand.
And you know what? When you do a little bit of research about New Zealand, we didn't really look into the cities and the towns and stuff. We looked more about what New Zealand looks like and what the environment is like. You don't really go into what a city looks like and what there is to do and stuff like that. So I think that's why I thought it was small.
And what we thought was small cities turned out to be actually very small towns. I had a few conceptions of places that I thought was much bigger. But when we arrived there, it was much smaller. In some places that I thought was much smaller was much bigger.
Yeah.
So I had that a bit wrong.
Just move that so that we can see.
All right, somebody has given us.
Fish is very expensive.
No, that's a specific fish.
Oh, okay.
Is the kingfish really so like that everywhere? No, it's like everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, kingfish ain't that. I don't know what's
to wish your English this morning. Mine is also gone.
My English is gone, so sorry about that. No, kingfish aren't overall. You have to work hard for your kingfish these days. But let me say this: the amount of fish coming out is still good. Yeah. The sizes of the kingfish this year was quite nice. Yeah. You sometimes get what you call schools of what we call rat kings. Then I judge that there must be at least 1,000 fish in there, but they're just below the legal size. The legal size for kingfish is about 70 centimeters. Okay. I think it's 75 now, 75 centimeters. That's big, you know, it's big fish. So you get these, where's the camera? You get these rat kings. It's about half a meter, about 50, 55 centimeters. They're nice to catch, but you aren't allowed to take them. Okay. So we sometimes just catch them.
One thing that's really strange is that with the amount of fish that's available in New Zealand, it's really expensive to buy fish in the shops.
And that's because the fish in the shops, a lot of the fish coming down to Pack and Save, you'll see if you go and look there, go and have a look and see the size of the snapper. Now, I think the legal size of the snapper, you guys can help me now, I think it's 29 centimeters or something, which is nearly a ruler length. Okay. And sometimes these are small fish, and that's all bycatches of what they catch outside with the trawlers. Okay. So there's a big drive now trying to get the trawlers to stop. But it's that fish that are so very expensive.
Okay. Now, I just saw that it's really expensive to buy.
It is, yeah. The other day it went up to nearly $60 a kg for snapper, of all things. Listen, another misconception that we can get: New Zealand is a dangerous place to visit.
I also had that, and I was just thinking, never mind visiting, living there with the volcanoes and the earthquakes. Yesterday again, or when was it that?
Yeah, there was yesterday. There was a large amount of earthquakes down in the Hawke's Bay area.
40 aftershocks or something
but no damage.
No damage.
Yeah, at least no damage.
And there was a tsunami warning, but nothing came of it.
Yeah. But the tsunami warnings you get in New Zealand is more precautionary than anything else. In the whole time that we were here, we had quite a few tsunami warnings, but we had none that happened. Except that small one up top at, was it Whakapapa or somewhere
Yeah,
like
but
that?
that wasn't the.
But that was
like a
about
big
30 centimeters.
dangerous
Yeah,
thing,
it wasn't
yeah.
dangerous, no.
Yes. So yes, there are a lot of earthquakes, and the island is full of volcanoes. But when you live here, you really don't actually. No, I have never, ever felt an earthquake.
We just had that one steam vent down at White Island.
Yes,
which killed quite a few people that was stupid enough to go look at it.
But I mean, if you know that there's a volcano that can erupt any moment, why would you do that? Why would you go there?
And I think that the whole warning system around volcanoes probably ain't that good. They should have made it a bit better.
Yeah, maybe they got
somebody just saying misconception. The school's curriculum is not that correct, especially if a kid are not in a private school.
I've heard so many people. I've heard good things and bad things about schools and the curriculum and what it's like. The way that I don't know. There are so many things.
And I really can't tell you a practical experience regarding this because we didn't have kids at school.
Yes, but that is I mean, I know a lot of teachers and they are all for the school system in New Zealand. And then some of the parents are.
And then we know a few kids. We know a few kids. Some of these kids, I can't say it was problem children, but they had big problems in South Africa. And they struggled in that school system. They could not adapt in that school system.
And they flourished.
And they flourished down here. They actually do so well. You can just say,
but it is, what I can say is that it is very different. It is very different from what it is in South Africa.
Especially where they mark stuff.
I don't know.
I think I went to school in the wrong country.
And it seems like you can't really understand the report cards that they get at the end of the term. And I don't know, it's very confusing for me. So, but I know that it's very much different than it is in South Africa.
Oh, yeah, it is. Let's see. Everyone in New Zealand speaks Maori. Now we had that one. New Zealand is a very small country. It is a very small country. And the one thing is, you tend to forget that there's two islands.
Yeah.
You tend to forget that there's a South Island as well because it's so underpopulated.
The whole of New Zealand, the South Island and the North Island, I think is the same size as the United Kingdom, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But that's only on the side of the land.
I think why it seems so small is because it is so far. My grandchildren sees a speckle on a piece of cake that their mom baked that's supposed to be the earth or something, and they're like, oh, so it is very small.
I can say this for everybody who grew up as a kid who wanted to live in that tropical island or on an island, you've got the chance now. You're in New Zealand. We are an island. We're really an island. So
yes, it is very small, but I promise you can get anything you want, everything you need. You'll find. I think it probably changed a little bit from when people started to immigrate to New Zealand, but at the way that it is currently.
Yeah, what Casper is saying on the other channel, sorry, I can't put it on here. He says New Zealand is the size of Cape Town, 5 million people. Yeah, that is just the volume of people living here. And that is in both islands.
Yes. North
and south.
Yeah. And you can't actually imagine that if you think about it, but the northern part of the North Island, no one lives there. It's just an empty space.
The northern part?
Of the North Island, the upper north. No one lives there.
Yeah, but that's a very small area. It's about 80 kilometers.
But nobody lives. No, yeah, but there are so many places, space that someone can still live. That's not.
Lives there. I mean, if you can go down to the South Island, I think the South Island's got about 1 million people living in that whole island, and the South Island is bigger than the North Island. There's massive, vast open spaces. So, yeah. Dion Miller just saying, we'll see you soon, flying out on the 10th of June.
I just want to say, since we last had a 3 minutes with Jan, something substantial happened. Our eldest son arrived in New Zealand. He got his work visa, and his wife Ilana's visa was approved yesterday. So she will be flying very soon.
So thanks to Vanita.
Thank you, Vanita and Shan, for absolutely wonderful to have him.
Because we were on their heads the whole time.
We were very irritating customers.
He starts work on Monday. So And I've already talked to him, and I've chatted to him and said, whatever jobs there is, tell me. I want to tell the South Africans. So,
Hulle Ilona, jy moet nou gesond voel dat jy kan
yeah,
kom.
she couldn't come due to a small operation on that side, but she'll be with us in another 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So,
One misconception there is New Zealand is only famous for the Lord of the Rings.
that does help.
Yeah, it is famous for the Lord of the Rings.
Say it does help.
There are many other movies that was also made in New Zealand.
Yeah,
a lot
of other
It
movies
is because the nature and the environment is so beautiful.
But I think the big thing about the Lord of the Rings was, I think they made it over 30 or 40 different locations all over New Zealand. That's why it's so famous, because you can go to a place and people can tell you, oh, they made the Lord of the Rings here. Yeah, they shot a few scenes here, and then you can go to the next place and people tell you, they made the Lord of the Rings here. And that's how big that movie really was.
Yeah.
At the end. What else do you see that's nice
there? Some people may think that when you're an immigrant, you'll be an outsider in New Zealand. That is a misconception. And that is the one thing that I think made me struggle a little bit in the beginning to adapt, or maybe just to get into the groove of things. You feel that you're an outsider when you come to New Zealand, but as soon as you experience what it's actually like, the amount of other cultures and other immigrants, it's mainly a European population in New Zealand, but there are so many Asians and Indians and
Chinese.
So as soon as you realize that actually you're not that.
We're basically a whirlpool of nationalities.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. You actually can. It should actually make you feel a little bit more accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is somebody saying, sorry, it's in Afrikaans, and I'll try and translate it. They say they're leaving the kids 20 and 25 behind.
Oh, my word.
It's difficult to cope with the thought that you are leaving them behind, but the one has now decided to come, and he is here, and we still got one down there in South Africa, and hopefully we're going to put it out there, they get brains and come, boys. So.
We also left 2 kids behind. The reason why we left them behind is because they were too old to come. And your one of 25, I suppose, is also too old to come. And Benedine couldn't come. She was married already and all that. So it is really hard. In the beginning, I really struggled. And every time I go back to visit them, when I come back, it's the same struggle. Although I think it's worse.
It's not in tears.
Every time you come back, the longing for them is worse. So, I don't know. There's nothing it's not easy. There's nothing I can say to make it easier.
Yeah.
It is just something that we have to live through.
And somewhere along the line, they said New Zealand is located near the North Pole as a misconception.
How can someone think that?
I don't know, but we're actually in this. Well, yeah, you get stupid people. We're actually in the southern hemisphere, and we're close to the South Pole. If you know where Christchurch is, that's this springboard for a lot of South Pole trips. So if you are going to the South Pole, you'll probably end up with ending up in Christchurch and then flying out from there onwards. So
have a look at that one. This guy, you can't
just read it. No, I can't
okay, a guy says that he had plans on coming over, but he had a motor vehicle accident and he had to put plates in his neck. He doubted any employer would employ him now. It depends probably on what kind of trade you're in. What kind
and Garth, it also probably depends on how what has your mobility been.
Yes.
I mean, if you can't really work, then nobody will employ you. Let's be frank on that.
It depends on what kind of trade you're in. I mean, Jan had 5.
Yeah, but I mean, we know people that arrived here with no legs.
Yeah.
They got jobs.
Yeah. So I think don't give up. Don't stop trying.
But the biggest thing would be the immigration fact on the medical help for New Zealand.
I don't think it will have anything to do with the employer so much as with immigration's medical. And don't stop trying. I've seen so many things happen, miracles.
Oh yeah, don't give up. Don't give up. What else is there that they say? I say a misconception is that New Zealand is a small country. We are a small country.
We had to talk about that one.
Yeah, so
What other misconceptions?
What did you think was different? Except the fact that you can't ride your bicycle everywhere.
Yeah. We talked about this one.
We had to go buy a specific bicycle for her. I promise you, a specific bicycle. They had a little mighty or a basket in front, and she was going to ride every morning to the market. Like, what's that? Girl that sits straight up?
Yes, I had this picture in my head. I think I probably thought it was like kind of in Italy or somewhere where you just go to the market and you buy your fresh produce and you go home and you cook and whatever. It's not like that.
No,
there is a market on a Saturday morning, but it's a little far for me to go on my bike. So.
Well, I can promise you, we sold that bike with 0 kilometers on it. So. But it was actually a good thing. We got more money for the bike here than what we paid for in South Africa.
Yes, so. Yeah. So, what was the thing that I actually wanted to say now?
I don't know, but it's quite interesting to see what you think and what we're in.
Big thing for me was medication. But I think it's because I'm an anxious person, and I was on a specific kind of medication, and I know that my body struggles to adjust to different medication. It takes a while for my body to adjust to a different kind. So my doctor gave me 6 months prescription of whatever I was using at that time. And I was so scared for when that medication runs out and I have to get medication, and it's not going to be the same as I got in South Africa.
It wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same, but you know what? It's not like these people are stupid. They just kind of work something out for you. It just went through a few weeks of not feeling well, and then it just.
And at least they've got Google as well.
Yeah, but it's a thing in your head. It's like, oh no, it's not going to be the same as in South Africa, so it's not going to work.
So I'll put up what Penny said, because I think it's rather sarcastic, by the way, Penny. I thought it rained every day. It's not true.
A big one.
In Auckland, it only rains 305 days per year. So.
We had a lot of rain this year in summer, really a lot. It's the first time in 5 years that it's rained that much.
And it was El Nino changing to El Nino or something like that.
So it doesn't rain all the time. No. And it's not that cold. I mean, we're still in summer clothes, and I still get really warm. In the evenings, it's starting to get cold now.
Yeah.
But during the day, it's lovely, and we're almost in May. So our summer is a little bit longer.
It is a tiny bit longer now.
Yeah, but it changes very quickly.
But it struggled to start.
Yes.
It struggled to launch. So.
But what's funny is you'll go to sleep one evening in your summer clothes, and tomorrow it's winter. It just happens.
But they don't have this gradual going over to getting colder. It's just.
And then another thing, it doesn't snow everywhere in New Zealand. It's just in the specific areas that it snows.
South Island gets a lot of snow on the ranges, on the mountains.
Yeah.
North Island gets snow only certain. Last year was even, and actually there was so little snow last year that the snow companies is going into bankruptcy this year. It's actually that bad. But we get snow down in Whakapapa, and Whakapapa is a mountain, and around Whakapapa there's 3 ski resorts, and last year there was just not enough snow. I tried to make some, but it didn't work that well.
We were there, but there was snow, but not enough.
Little,
and it's not that cold everywhere in New Zealand. The South Island is really cold. There is another misconception that Ilana, we're going to have a lot of fun with Ilana. Misconception. I was told it's very difficult for women to buy clothes in New Zealand, and that they should rather buy in South Africa. When I came to visit, there were definitely no shorties. That's true. I
mean, even when you went back now for the grandchild's birth, I said to her, spend money, buy yourself some clothes, and she came back with absolutely zero.
Yeah. I bought one thing. The
kangaroo balls.
I must say that also changed a little bit since we arrived. Okay. When we arrived 5 years ago, I also walked through the stores and I was like, oh my word, what am I going to wear? The clothes were so ugly. So I don't know if I changed.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I wear ugly clothes now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But there are a lot of clothes. It's not that expensive to buy clothes.
I just think outside of Auckland, I know the Aucklanders, they dress up a bit more. But outside of Auckland, you've got a bit of a relaxed type of dressing.
Yeah, it's actually, in some sense, it's nice, but in other senses, you really want to dress up sometimes, but
you don't always want to dress.
No, but just look okay. But in Wellington as well, the men they wear suits, and I haven't seen anyone in Tauranga.
We're more relaxed. We walk like this.
Yeah.
Somebody actually borrowed a tie from me the other day, and I had to go and look where my ties was because I just unpacked them 5 years ago, and I've never ever looked at them again. I didn't even know what ties I had. So
Penny.
Somebody just saying houses are exceptionally expensive.
That's not a misconception.
That's not a misconception. That's the truth. You are going to pay a lot of money for a house. You do repay house down in New Zealand faster than you can in South Africa. It's just the way they structure their interest. The interest rate in New Zealand currently, although it's very high now, it is much lower than South Africa. And we expect it within the next 12 months probably to go back down. So,
Whakapapa, a lot of swearing words in New Zealand.
So you are going to pay a bit more. You are going to pay a premium for a house down here. There's a misconception amongst people that house prices are suddenly going to nosedive and bottom out, and you're going to go from 1 million to 500,000.
It's not going to happen. But don't be discouraged and think that you'll never be able to buy a house. You will.
You will. And if you struggle with buying a house, shout out. We've got a lot of different plans that we help people make just to get their first house, because it's important. I feel everybody in New Zealand that's an immigrant here should be able to afford a house in the long run. Yeah. That is very, very important.
It's just to save that deposit. That's the main thing. So don't be discouraged about the price of the houses. You will be able to buy one.
And as I say, we make a plan. So, all right, I just want to say something. I know Penny lives in New Zealand, but the word Whakapapa is not a swear word, as well as Whakamarama and Whakatani. And it's not somebody's tani, Please get that over. So, all right. That was the misconceptions that we had. Somebody just say they feel that the winter could be colder this year. I also think so. I think we're still in for a big surprise this year. So, yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to point out this morning?
Nothing I can think about now.
I just think, guys, with all those misconceptions, I mean, there's a lot of, how can I say, misinformation. That's a nice word. Misinformation sent out there. And sometimes this misinformation is sent out by people living in New Zealand already. And I just think somewhere in their heads, they haven't come to terms yet with what is real or what's not real. So be careful what you read out on the internet. Listen to people who you can trust, and if you can ask them something, and they will come back to you and they will tell you the truth about that. So I can tell you this morning, yes, houses are expensive. Food has gone up. Would you agree with me? My water and lights is still about the same price. I see they put a small raise through, like something like 5% on the electricity, which is not too much for me. I think it's not an unreasonable amount that they are putting the electricity up. So, but you got to have a lot of fun. So,
Rian Pretorius is saying there's a lot more wealth than I expected. Plenty shops, abundance of choices, and if you shop right, prices are not that bad. If you shop at the right places and just work on a budget, the same as you did in South Africa. Unless you were so wealthy in South Africa that you didn't have to look at the prices.
I want to say something, and I'm talking about my clients that I see in New Zealand. The amount of debt that the guys have in New Zealand is far less. Is far, far, far less than what we had in South Africa.
Yeah, it's too easy in South Africa to do.
It's too easy in South Africa to get debt, and the other thing is you can just save 3-4 months and then buy the thing cash. I know some people's got small credit cards. I've got a credit card worth $500 or something.
You must just remember one thing about debt in New Zealand. Every single thing that you owe on in New Zealand will count against you when you want to get credit for a house or for whatever. It's not in South Africa in South Africa, you have to have debt so that they can see that you're actually paying off your debt in order to get more debt. Here it works against you. You lose points, and that all counts against you when you want to buy a house or something. So just keep that in mind.
And yeah, as Rian said, there's a lot more wealth. There's cash flush people sitting in this country. That
There are a lot of
Yes.
wealthy people in New Zealand.
and
yeah.
I'm talking about old money, real old money. And I mean, these guys don't drive flashy BMWs or Corvettes or Ferraris.
That's the thing. You have to change your mindset about stuff like that.
yeah.
It's all about the way that you live. It's not about what you have.
I think the average New Zealander,
Mm.
and I hope you guys are like that as well, regards wealth as the time spent with their families.
Yeah.
And not about the amount of money
Yeah.
in their bank.
And that is also what is important in New Zealand, at your workplace and everywhere else. It is your family. Whānau, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's not like that, get out. All right, on that note, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
All right, guys, girls. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye.